The following presentation will give you a biomechanical analysis of the volleyball overhand float serve. To begin, let's first break down the volleyball serve into 5 different phases. The first phase is the starting position. In this position, the left foot is slightly behind the right and the toes are pointed toward the net. The right hip and knee begin to move into flexion as the right leg steps forward. The right shoulder is flexed approximately 90 degrees with the hand on top of the ball. The left shoulder is in about 45 degrees of flexion, holding the ball in the palm of the hand. In the second phase, ball release, the right hip and knee continue to move into flexion as the athlete takes a step forward with the right leg. The left shoulder is brought into extension and then rapidly flexed to release the ball. The right shoulder moves deeper into flexion, and the right elbow follows the shoulder into flexion. In the cocking phase, the athlete then steps forward with the left leg so that the right leg is behind, shoulder width apart. The trunk and hips move into right rotation and extension as the shoulder externally rotates and the shoulder flexes and abducts to 90 degrees. The elbow also flexes until it reaches 90 degrees. The left shoulder remains in 90 degrees of flexion with the elbow fully extended. Some of the contractions occurring during this phase include an eccentric contraction of the pectoralis muscles, teres major, and tricep, and concentric contraction of the infraspinatus, teres minor, and bicep. In the acceleration phase, the right shoulder and elbow are forcefully moved into extension as the trunk and hips rotate to the left for a frontal position. Here we have an eccentric contraction of the biceps and the anterior and middle deltoid, and a concentric contraction of the triceps, teres major, and posterior deltoid. The left shoulder and elbow begin to move into extension. The trunk and hips move into left rotation. During the ball contact phase, the right leg is back in extension and the left foot is forward with the toe pointed towards the net. The athlete's trunk is now facing the net. The left elbow remains flexed while the right hitting arm makes contact with the ball while moving into extension at around 170 degrees. The tricep and teres major are concentrically contracting, and the biceps and anterior and middle deltoid are eccentrically contracting. In the follow-through position, the hips and trunk face the net. The right shoulder is held in about 135 degrees of shoulder flexion, and the left elbow remains flexed and stable. Now let's look at some of the biomechanical concepts that are present during a volleyball serve, starting with force. In a float serve, the force is transferred to the center of the ball by the palm of the hand. We know that force equals mass times acceleration. Therefore, in order to accelerate the ball faster, a larger force must be applied to it. Momentum needs to be transferred from lower body to upper body in order for a great force to be placed on the ball. A greater force equals greater power, and power increases when a given amount of work is performed in less time. Therefore, if the volleyball is served with great power, the velocity of the ball will increase, making it more difficult for the opposing team. Internal forces such as tension and compression are present during an overhand volleyball serve, working throughout the tissues as the body moves through the motion. If an internal force placed upon the body is too intense for that tissue to withstand, an injury can occur to that structure. The ball will have potential energy when it is elevated in the air during the peak of the release. The height of the ball, combined with the force of gravity, will determine how large that ball's acceleration is when it falls and how much kinetic energy it gains before being hit. The greater the height of the ball, the more potential energy and less kinetic energy it will have when falling. Kinetic energy occurs when the volleyball is hit by the athlete. An object with a greater mass or velocity will have greater kinetic energy. The faster an object moves, the more kinetic energy it has. For example, if the body has greater power and a high velocity, when preparing to hit the volleyball, there will be an increase in kinetic energy that will be transferred to the ball, leading to a more powerful and fast ball being hit to the opponent's side. Newton's first law of inertia can be applied to the overhand serve in volleyball. If the moment of inertia is large, an object is harder to rotate and more force is needed. Therefore, it is important that the moment of inertia is small during a serve. For example, when the elbow is bent before hitting the ball, there is a decrease in the moment of inertia of the arm, which then leads to a faster angular velocity and faster ball. A faster ball means a more difficult serve for the opposing team to receive. Without a bend in the elbow, the moment of inertia would be too large to produce a fast ball. In the volleyball serve, torque is needed in the torso, shoulders, hips, in order to successfully serve the ball. When there is no torque present in the core or shoulder, the risk of injury is increased and the odds of the ball being successfully served over the net are decreased. Torque is equal to force times moment arm. Therefore, the greater the forces of the volleyball serve, the greater the torque will be. Increasing the size of the force will increase the amount of rotation. Therefore, since rotation is necessary for a successful serve, it is important that the forces are large. If a fast torque occurs at the core, a faster torque will occur at the shoulder and allow a faster swing to hit the ball. In a volleyball serve, the athlete will extend the back. However, too much back extension could lead to injury. A rotation of the torso needs to occur with back extension in order to protect the back. When serving, the shoulder hyperextends to gain power and then rotates about 280 degrees until the elbow creates a 90-degree angle, where the shoulder is flexed and externally rotated overhead. From this position, the serving arm is able to produce a maximum amount of torque. In a more novice athlete, the shoulder will only rotate about 190 degrees and the elbow will create a 45-degree angle. From this position, the serving arm is not able to produce the maximum amount of torque. Torque is not only needed to produce a powerful and fast ball, but is also needed to get the ball over the net. Here we can see the ball successfully making it over the net. Let's review how we can put these biomechanical concepts together to improve performance and reduce the risk of injury. For improving performance and technique, an athlete must be able to produce large forces throughout the body in order to deliver a strong enough force to the ball. Similarly, kinetic energy needs to be great to be transferred to the ball. There will be a more successful and challenging serve if there is greater kinetic energy. Decreasing the moment of inertia will also improve performance for the serve. This can be done by bending the elbow of the serving arm before accelerating the arm for ball contact. Lastly, creating the ideal torque angle of 90 degrees elbow flexion will help ensure that the ball will successfully travel over the net. To prevent injury, there are many factors that can be considered. Most importantly, the muscles, bones, and joints need to be able to withstand the forces being placed upon them during a volleyball serve. Therefore, the body must be strong enough in order to prevent injury. This can be done by strengthening the muscles that are dominant in the volleyball serve, such as the biceps, triceps, deltoids, and shoulder internal and external rotators. Although strength is important, it is also important that the muscles being used in the body are flexible so that they can successfully achieve the movements. For example, the obliques and abdominals need flexibility in order to achieve proper rotation to create the necessary torques. The muscles crossing the shoulder joint also need to be flexible in order to successfully extend and externally rotate back behind the head to prepare for the serve. Torque in the shoulder and core is required during a serve, and without it, improper mechanics could lead to injury. The same can be said for back extension, although some extension is necessary, but an athlete must be sure that too much back extension does not occur, as this can lead to injury. This concludes the biomechanical analysis of the volleyball float serve. Thank you for watching.